Hello, friends, and welcome back to Stories About Entitled People. Sometimes nature can be your ally, even in a conflict on the road. But before we begin, don't forget to subscribe to our channel if you're new here and turn on notifications so you don't miss a new video every single day. Here we go. Use the power of the sun on a tailgater. A guy'd been tailgating me for the last 10 minutes or so. At a red light, I realized that the trees to our left was such that if I moved up a bit, the sunlight would shine directly in his face. So I inched forward to direct it into his face, and sure enough, he followed me up slowly until the sun was shining on his face. Then I stopped. He couldn't back up as there were other cars behind, so I watched him squint helplessly until he put his shades on a minute later. And our second story. Next time, they'll check all their quarters. So in college, I used to work as a server at IHOP. I worked the swing shift, which was typically around 4 to 10 p.m. It was right down the street from campus, and the students would come in and study. Many nights, they would sit there for 4 hours drinking unlimited coffee and maybe a $3.99 short stack, so their tab would be $6 and they'd tip $2. Very crappy job. One night had been a busy dinner rush, and I was tired and ready to go. I'd finished all my side work and was about to get my last study kid's tab closed out when two girls who were studying all day said they wanted to order something. I explained that another server would have to take care of that. They were annoyed, but the graveyard server took them. My manager was upset that night and asked me to help clean some other things for him, so I stayed about another hour cleaning and eating a meal. I saw the two girls waiting at the cash register to pay, and I went to cash them out. The one who ate paid her tab, and the other said keep the change and handed me $2.50 in quarters, and the change was like 10 cents. The next night, my manager informed me of an email written about me to corporate. It said I acted annoyed and didn't want to take care of them and handed them to another server even though I was still there when they left. I was PO'd because I knew it was those girls and I'd refilled coffee for them for 5 hours. Anyways, a couple weeks later, I see one of the girls studying again. I see her getting ready to leave, and I go outside with a regular old guy to smoke a cig. When she comes out, I nicely say, "Hey, did you and your friend pay with quarters a couple weeks ago?" She said she wasn't sure. She knew. I said, "Well, I was just curious because they were all silver quarters. I waited around for a couple days to see if I saw you guys, but you never came back. I took them to the pawn shop and got $5 a piece for them. I just wanted to let you know so you can check your change jar." She coldly said, "Thanks," and left. The old man said that was really nice of me, and when I told him the story, he laughed for 10 minutes. "Oh, that was so sweet, I just want to rub it on my peanut butter sandwich." She obviously scraped those quarters together just to buy that. You tell her you got $50 out of it? It's going to haunt her for months. Very well done. And our next story. Bad dolphins, great shame on ancestor, or working in safety and environment with the Chinese. One of the wonderful things about working for a crummy little consultancy run by a shyster that would take any work, regardless of how unqualified we were for it, was it exposed me to a lot of crap that I didn't know crap about. One example is when my boss, the chief rabbi of Scotland, told the client that I was an aviation expert because I've been in helicopters. If nothing else, I learned something. Thus was my entry into iron ore mining. At the beginning of the project, here's what I knew about iron ore. It has iron in it. It's an ore of some kind. Australian exports a F-ton of it. Miscellaneous. Here's what I subsequently learned. Iron ore is a thing which is dug out of the ground. It gets stuck on a train to a marine loading terminal. A ship takes it from Australia to China, and somebody pays someone. Sometimes Australia buys back the same crap as steel because we're stupid. Now, obviously, I work in safety, which over time has gone from Occupational Health and Safety, OHS, to HSE, Health, Safety, and Environment. Because apparently all us safety a-holes know something about the environment. Some companies call it QHSE, Quality plus HSE. Some it's HSSE, or HSE plus Security. My current miserable post adds RR to it, Risk and Reliability. I hate it. All these stupid acronyms just mean I have to do more stupid crap that I'm not paid to do. Well, I'm paid to do it, but that's not the point. F it. Enter the Chinese. These guys have been buying crap all over the place here in Australia. Fantastic. They can have Canberra, that's the capital of Australia for our knuckle-dragging American friends. In all seriousness, if they've got the dosh, people want to sell. Who gives a crap? I already buy my milk from Kohl's Supermarket. Who gives a crap if it says Kohl's is our registered trademark of Guangzhou Dairies and Industrial Flooring Party Ltd? Unfortunately, they have a teensy tiny issue with safety. We're talking about a bunch of people that lose 3,000 people down a coal mine, and their mentality is, hey, a-hole, drop the fishing rod. You're mining coal now. From my experience, their thought process is that safety isn't an investment in your people, it's an overhead that impedes production. Call that racist or stereotypical or whatever you like, that's been my experience working with them. So these guys want to take over one of the marine terminals to cut out the middleman to make shipping ore to China cheaper. Makes sense to me. Step 1 is to set up a meeting between the client and the regulator. Right, says I. Mr. Pan, first thing you need to do is go and have a sit down with the regulator. Nothing big, just a quick, this is who we are, this is what we propose. Mr. Pan nods. Okay, he says, how much does meeting cost? Well, Mr. Pan, it doesn't really work like that. It's just an informal chat. So they know who you are and nobody gets caught offside. That's a sports metaphor for you IT people? He nods again, showing comprehension. I see, he says. I call my boss, and he calls his boss in Beijing. Have a whole regulator problem sorted. The F are you going to do? Organize a triad hit? Take photos of his kids going to school? Send me with a briefcase with $1 million in small unmarked bills? Invade Australia? Fortunately, that meeting and train of thought got kiboshed fairly quickly because Mr. Pan had a phone call from Chairman Mao or something. I left immediately. On we forge ahead. Chinese want to take over a port in Australia. This is a big effing deal. Safety crap, unions, environmental crap, the works. You need stuff for vessel pilots, fuel farm operations, bunkering, dredging, loading and unloading, road rail, rail marine, you name it. Our overlords believe this can be accomplished by throwing money at it and changing the name from Port Wagyu Iron Ore Terminal to Glorious People's Iron Ore and iPhone Manufacturing Collective Number 57. Unfortunately for them, that's not how the law works in Australia. From the start, I want out of this godforsaken project. I'm not a port operations expert. I'm not an environmental person. The F business do I have doing this crap? Unfortunately, the boss has dollar signs in his eyes and is signed off on an hour-by-hour, essentially unlimited scope of work. All right, let's try and kill this. I set up another meeting with Mr. Pan and his boss, Mr. Huang. Port Operations Environmental Management Plan, says I, unveiling a PowerPoint slide about why it's required. Plan? Asks my Huang. Shh, says Mr. Pan. I'll show you later. Under the Australian regulations, I continue, port operators must have an approved EMP for all port facilities and vessel moorings. Contents of the plan must be validated by an independent third party. Ah, says Mr. Pan, nodding. Plans must include the following. Long list of stuff. I was hoping they'd balk at it and give up. Ah, he says again. Do you understand the requirements, I ask? Yes, says Mr. Pan. You write plan. Well, that's not really my area of expertise, says I. You're better off getting a dedicated environmental consultancy to do this. That kills two birds with one stone. The plan is appropriate, and it's validated by independent third party. Ah, says Mr. Pan. Thank goodness, he understands. You write plan. F. I'm sorry, asks I. Your boss says you do safety and environment. This environment, you write plan. F it. Sold down the river again. All right, I need all your port operation documents. I still need an independent validator, but we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. Ah, says Mr. Pan. So what else goes in environment port plan? Asked Mr. Huang. Everything, basically. Spill contingency plans, bunkering, ballasting, marine mammal monitoring, external support. Marine mammal monitoring? Asked Mr. Huang. Yes, says I. Under Australian law, you're required to have a program in place to record all observations and incursions of marine mammals. Marine mammals? Asks Mr. Huang. Whales and dolphins mostly, plus anything at risk or noteworthy in the surrounding area. Mr. Pan and Mr. Huang start to have a machine gun conversation in Chinese. I have no idea what was said. Something about filthy capitalist dolphins and their decadent western running whales. I really don't care. It was definitely an odd dynamic, which was never explained to me. Mr. Pan made some decisions, but Mr. Huang controlled the money. We go on. It needs to be done by someone who knows what they're doing, which is expensive and time-consuming. Pretty much the answer to everything is need time and money. They keep yammering on. It gets into an argument. I hear my name mentioned a few times, but no idea if they're betrothing me to their firstborn daughter or shaming my descendants for eternity. F it, I tried. Better they throw in the towel now than face complete embarrassment in front of the government, theirs and ours. I get back to the office, and the boss is on the phone giving me the usual bullcrap by hand signal. You've seen it before. Come in, sit down, I'm on the phone, this guy talks too much. Call-ins, boss unhappy. Care to explain that, he says? Explain what? That was Mr. Pan and his boss. They've decided to go with another consultancy. Good, says I. They would have had to eventually for the environmental stuff. So what were you talking about with them today then? Environmental stuff. What? Why? Well, we needed to cover it. Yeah, he replies, eventually. What, you couldn't get them into the safety stuff? Not really. Mr. Huang in particular seemed very concerned about marine mammals. He mentioned it twice. F. For a Christian, he swears a lot. Maybe it's demons or angry dolphin ghosts. Crap, I'd be PO'd if someone killed me via tuna net. F, he says again. Do you have any idea how many hours I had budgeted for that? No, says I. Anything else? Just next time, come on, it's business. It was hourly billable. Shame, says I. You dishonor your ancestors. Also, don't ever put me in that position again. But of course he did. Hey guys, thank you all for watching the video. I'll see you in the next one.